If you would like to see what this is being pulled out of, keep watching. Hey everyone, it's LJ here, and today we're going to do some card making. So I am really happy that you can join me for this one. I am so looking forward to doing this one. It is definitely something that is taking over our house at the moment, and so yeah, I thought I'd make him a card out of it because why not? Let's celebrate it. So first thing I have done, I have made my own card base. So I have a piece here that I can't pick up because I have no nails. Yeah. I have a piece of 8x8 card that I have scored down the centre to make a card base, which is 8x4. So it's going to be a long 10-fold card, like so. So there is our card front. That is our 8x4 card base. I then cut a black mat or layer to go on top of it, which is 7 3/4 by 3 3/4, just so we get a nice white clean edge. Okay, that's the first bit. I then also have a thin strip, which is 3/4 inch by however long. I will trim it down to the size I need it to be. And then I have another piece, which, as long as it's smaller than this piece, it doesn't really matter. My piece is 2 1/4 by 6 3/4. So it doesn't need to be exact, it doesn't need to be neat. You're not going to see the edges, you're only going to see the centre part, but that's fine. So I did try this with white paint, and my white acrylic paint was useless. So I got some gesso, and I am just using my palette knife and an old paintbrush to flick it onto my pieces. I then thought that I wanted some larger spots, so I used the end of the paintbrush, dipped it in the gesso, and then just did a few medium and large dots, either by using the whole base or just the side of the base, which worked really, really well actually. And then I dried it off. You can do this with a whole number of things. It would look nice with sparkly bits, but in the game it's very black and white, so I wanted to do just with white gesso. Oakley dokley's. So I have done my splattering. There's actually more splatter there than I was intending, but I quite like it now that it's dried. So we're going to move on to our next bit. So I have printed off the text from the game, which says here, it's going to sit on this one. First thing we're going to do is we're going to choose on here where we are going to cut. So using my ruler and my pencil, I found the centre point of the piece, drew a line down the centre, and then I came in 1/2 inch from each end because I knew I wanted to leave gap at each end for foam tape. So I've just drawn those lines on my piece using my T-ruler. If you don't have a T-ruler, get one. It is the best thing in the world for getting straight lines and everything else. It's brilliant. I then checked my piece and how wide I wanted my gap, and I was going to have that sentiment showing, so I knew the length I needed it to be. That was the first point. And then I figured out how wide my strip was, and then I cut a slit that was 3/4 inch. So I came out just a little bit from each point in the centre, and then I joined that up at each end, and then I knew where I was going to cut. So I've joined that up with a pencil that stopped working, so I got a new pencil. Quick change my pencil. So I've joined those up. I have gone over where I need to cut just so that I can see those corners when I'm cutting. I've then got out a cutting board, my ruler and my Stanley knife. You can of course do this with your trimmer. I'm doing it with my Stanley knife because I need to learn to do 2 or 3 gentle passes. What I tend to do is just do one very thick cut, and if it goes wrong, it goes horribly wrong. Whereas if you do 2 or 3 gentle passes with the blade, it cuts a much nicer line even. It's much smoother and it's much easier on the hands. So that's what I was practicing doing. So I'm just going to cut out that rectangle because we don't need that piece. That's going to reveal our secret message. And then we are good to continue with the rest of the card. Let's just start with this piece sticking down. I'm going to need some temporary tape. And some actual tape. So, start off with the back of this. I'm going to put some actual tape on. Away, my doodad, there it is. Now you've seen me put tape on before, so I'll be back in a sec. Okay, I've got the tape on here. And then we want to make sure that this covers this to start with. And we want to make sure that this is in this gap. So I'm going to pop a little bit of tape on this. This is just printer paper, so I don't want to use glue with it because it could wrinkle it, it could do all sorts of things. So I'm going to just pop some tape along the centre of this very carefully so that I don't go all over the edges and then rip it or do what have you, because I cleverly only printed out one at this size. There we go, look at that. Almost like I know what I'm doing. Disclaimer, I don't, but it's almost like I know what I'm doing. Right. Let me, how, it's in my hand. I was looking for this piece because I could only see the back and it was white. I was confused. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm honestly like, yeah, I do sometimes know what I'm talking about. Other times, definitely not. So we want to make sure that this is facing the right way and we get our text the right way. So this is correct. I know that this is correct. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of temporary tape on here. Did any come out? Come on. There we go, just a tiny bit on each end so that it sticks to this piece for now. We can do that bit afterwards actually, ignore me. I'm then going to stick this so that it covers the gap. We definitely need it covered. In fact, I might do it this way up because then I can see which bits look nice and not get that. The glue isn't a huge issue. There, looks good. Now we'll remove that glue in a minute. Anyway, we can now stick our sentiment on the top that my other half uses when gaming. So I'm going to pop that here, put that in the centre like so. Yes, I like that. That looks good. Then we can take the tape off of this, then put some wet glue over that bit of tape so I have a tiny bit of wiggle room. Come on, glue. Today do not want to squeeze this bottle, as you can see how unevenly it's coming out. Okay, so that should do. Then I'm just going to position this in place. making sure that I've got my opening going the right way, because you do not want an upside down card. And then that looks about right, possibly a smidge that way. And this is why I put a little bit of wet glue on, because then you have just the right amount of wiggle room. And then I do that, and then this top layer will peel off because it's only stuck with temporary tape. And now I know that that is in exactly where I need it to be in the centre here before I start faffing with anything else. And why is there, oh, it's glue. So why is that wet? I dried the gesso. Tiny bit of glue poking out, that's fine. A bit of glue underneath that, and then I'm going to add a tiny touch of foam tape to it over that bit of black, because then we can have a little bit of a, what do you call it, gap, rise, depth, thickness. I don't really know how to refer to it. I'm going to grab my foam tape here. I have a very thin one. What is this? This is 1/4 of an inch. It's not that thin actually, but it'll do the job that I need it to do. I'm going to put it, where did I want this? I wanted this. I wanted this on the arm. So, right, on that first piece. Here. There we go. There we go. So that wasn't going to cut for a second then. I'm going to cut a piece longer than the, wider than the gap, but not the length of the big piece. So about there will do. And I'm going to glue down the ends. I'm going to put it up with the white paint facing up, just so you can see where I'm sticking it. And I'm putting glue only on the ends, as if we were doing like a waterfall or a pull tab in a mini album. And I'm going to pop it just here, like that, because that will then make sure that our piece doesn't wobble everywhere. Let's cut a 1/2 inch through. Let's do an inch just to give it that stability. And then we need to cut it shorter than our panel and the foam tape that's going to be around it. So we'll cut it the same length as this, just because I know that that will fit in between the tape that we're going to put on the edge. So I'm going to put that through there, and then I'm going to glue this onto the back of this piece with some, am I using wet tape or wet, what is wet tape? I meant wet glue or tape. Just go with the wet tape, yeah? Like, I can't even, I don't even know what that means. I'm going to take it out of here to glue it on, just because I don't want to end up with glue everywhere. Or wet tape, as I'm now calling it. So we're just going to stick this over the top, like so. Let's pop this out. Pop this on here. And I'm not going to use the circles. I think this is going to work better. We're getting there. We're getting there. Pop that in here. So that's going to be our strip now, which is not going to push through the front because we've got that T-bar across the back. This is then going to go on here. Put this on last because we need to add some foam tape to this, and I don't want to do that with that on the front because it will make everything lumpy. We'll grab our foam tape. And we're going to do one layer because that's got two, so that works out fine. So I don't have any black foam tape, it's really annoying. I have black foam dots or squares, and I have black Velcro circles, but I do not have black foam tape. I need to order some more, so I'm not putting it right on the edge. I'm going to move it in a little bit. We need to make sure that this isn't going to touch it, but that it is containing everything. So I'm going to start off just by doing 3 sides. So the 2 longs and this end. How are you all doing? I hope you are all keeping well, and if any of you follow me on any other social media, you will know that I had a positive COVID-19 test, which is great. It is kind of sitting on my chest, but I don't have sort of any horrific symptoms. It has really exacerbated my fatigue and my muscle pain and everything else, and I have a slight sickness and dizziness that keeps coming and going, but overall I have to be honest and say I'm very lucky because I've not had a huge amount of symptoms at all. And then we're going to put a few lines along here because we need to make sure that this is secured but that it's not going to get stuck too, and that's easy to do. It involves making a little bit of a mess, but that's, you know, my speciality apparently. Don't get too close to it, but we need to make sure that there's enough support at this end with the foam tape because we don't want it to sort of like sag and bow. Yeah, so I don't know if you can hear it in my chest. The more I talk, the worse it seems to get, and the worse of a headache I seem to get, which is great. But overall, I can't really complain. I'm still able to craft, admittedly at a much slower rate than usual, but I'm still able to craft, so that's positive. Now we can't put any foam tape here because this piece will catch on it. So we need to do a couple of little bits here. So we need to get our anti-static powder tool again. You could use baby powder, you could use anything. This is what I use for my embossing, even though it's really messy and I don't like it, and I wish I had one of the other ones, but when I first started it was cheap, and do you know what, it's still got tons of powder in it, so I'm not going to get rid of it. And I'm going to tip this off over the bin, give it a quick blow so that any other large particles aren't there. I'm going to turn it over, make sure that none of the powder is showing on this, which it's not, which is good. And look at that, that is almost a perfect size. So in order to reach this, we need to do a notch out of this. So I'm going to grab one of my circle punches, push that out of the way. Let's take this off so that I can actually get in there. So we're just going to do a little semicircle notch. Yeah. So that when this is closed, like so, you can still see this piece. I'm going to attach our little character on here, and I apologise if my head gets in the way for this. I need to make sure that I am getting it in the right place. Yes, I am going to put a little bit of the wet tape on the back. Oh dear, sorry, that's proper cracked me up. Oh dear, stupid things that I say. Okay. Okay, so get this nice and straight. try and get this lined up like so. I'm going to leave that to dry for a second, go and get a drink, and I will be right back. Now, let's stick on our... I'm going to peel off the tape, put a little bit of the wet tape on top, and then I'll stick it on. Okay, before I reveal our final card to you, I would just like to say thank you very much for supporting me and this channel. Please give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. It really means the world to me, and I'm going to be doing a road to 500 subscribers very, very soon, which is quite exciting. I can't believe that I'm nearly at 500. It's just baffling. And yeah, I really appreciate all your support. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much. If you are new, please consider subscribing. And now that I've got that out of the way, let's see what we have created. So here is our finished card. So I did heat emboss the Enjoy. It looks a bit wobbly because of the gesso underneath, but I actually quite like it. And then we have the pull tab here, and when we pull it out, we find that he was not the imposter, which is odd because normally when we play games, he's always the Cylon. But there we go. Thank you very much for spending time with me today, guys. I really appreciate it. Keep crafting, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.
Thank you. Person standing ominously over me. Very good. I'm never the imposter.
You are always.
Always listen to me.
Never listen to you. This is the rule. Never listen to you.
Very good, Mother. See, but this is not true. I am the Cylon. It's true. I am the Cylon, but I'm not the imposter. Wait. Whoops.